Thank you, Bryce. Welcome, everybody, to this Sunday morning service here at Salt and Light Christian Church. The story that I will be telling you all this morning, seeing as it is the Sunday before the 4th of July, I figured it would be appropriate to tell a story about one of our founding fathers. And so the story I will be telling you all this morning is about the man John Witherspoon. He was the only signer of the Declaration of Independence who was a pastor as well as a university professor. He was born in 1722 in Scotland, and his father was a pastor in Scotland, and his father valued education very highly. And he made sure that his son was educated and grew up educated. As a child, his mother taught him to read, and by the age of 4, John was able to begin reading his Bible on his own. As a child, his father sent him off to go to education, to get his education. And he graduated from the boys' school he was sent to at a young age. And at only the age of 14, then went off to college. 5 years later, he graduated from college. And his father, hoping that he would follow in his footsteps, offered him a position in his church to eventually take over it and lead it himself. However, John felt called elsewhere, and he ended up accepting a position at a different church in West Scotland. At this time in his life, he met his wife and got married. And the two of them would go on to have 10 children. However, only 5 of them survived childhood. During this time of his life, he suffered persecution at the hands of the British Empire. The politics of Scotland at the time were very tumultuous. Tumultuous, thank you. Up and down, all over the place, chaotic. Many people wanted independence, many people didn't, and there was just quite a bit of infighting and persecution going on at the time. At one point, John was even captured and held prisoner by the British because of his dedication to his homeland. However, later in life, in 1766, he was invited to come to the colony of New Jersey and to take over the College of New Jersey as the position of president. Although initially declining this offer because he and his wife were reluctant to leave their homeland, a couple years later in 1768, because of the increase in persecution, he and his family decided to accept the offer, and they moved to the colony of New Jersey. Here, he took up the position of president of the New Jersey College, which would go on to become Princeton University. And his fame and renown grew in the colonies. He was known to be a man of deep thought, and he was soft-spoken and rarely spoken. However, when he did stand to speak, he spoke with authority. Before he would speak on any subject, he made sure to study it and to discuss it with himself and his peers, to educate himself on it and make sure that he knew what he was talking about and could defend his position. He wrote many of his sermons and speeches in private before memorizing them and giving them. A few years later, in 1776, he was once again invited, this time to take a seat on the group, the council, that went on to write the Declaration of Independence. A few days before the 4th of July, he took his seat and joined the debates going on. One such man in this group stood up and declared that the nation was not ready yet for independence. However, as soon as he heard this, John stood up in opposition and declared not only was the nation ready, however, it was rotting from the want of independence. He also brought and encouraged the ideals that human rights were given by God and self-evident. He went on to sign the Declaration of Independence, and he continued in his life as the president of the New Jersey College as well as a pastor. Later in life, towards the end of his life, he ended up going blind from eye injuries. Yet he didn't let this stop him. He didn't step down from his position as pastor nor as president. He continued in his duties, fulfilling them all the way to the day of his death. He died at the age of 72 in 1794. John was many things throughout his life. But most importantly, he was a man of God. Not only was he a pastor, but he took that role above and beyond in accepting positions as president of the university, but also as one of the members, the signing members of our Declaration of Independence. And due to him and many men like him, we now have this great nation that was founded on Christian principles. So thank you. Let's pray with you.